This game, ladies and gentlemen, will defy your expectations. More than just your average boss brawler, I feel that this indie game is one that deserves to take the world by storm. Recommended to me by Derek Yu, the GOAT himself, I decided I'd give it a try. For the low price of free $99, it was way too good to turn down. This game took me by surprise and will do the same to you. It's a 2D boss rush game that certainly defied my expectations. The trailer had piqued my curiosity. After starting the game up, I noticed that the controls were a bit different from what I'm generally used to in 2D platformers. After getting used to the controls, I could tell that this was a game I would not be able to put down. Little did I know I'd be playing this game through in its entirety, one sitting of 3 hours. This game may appear to be simple at first glance, but nothing but depth lies ahead. At first, you start off as a regular old average Joe who's carrying a gun with projectiles that drop after a few feet of your current position. This forces you as the player to be more cognizant of your position at all times. You cannot simply aim and fire from any spot in the room. You must properly position yourself in a way that allows the bullet to fall directly onto the boss in order to deliver some damage. The first boss phase is quite simple, but as the game progresses, phases get more and more complex in the best way possible. Projectiles fly from tons of different directions, and the further you advance, the more imperative it is that you be more aware of your surroundings, the boss's location, its minions' locations, and the projectiles that spawn from both of them, as well as the mishaps that spawn from the environment itself. I won't go further into detail about the specifics of these boss battles so that you can experience this for yourself. This game feels so satisfying. From the soundtrack to the sound effects to the way it feels when you shoot an enemy to the explosion that the boss makes after annihilating him. Wow, this is something I haven't felt in a very long time, and it's amazing how much I enjoy it. It feels like a masterpiece. The fact that this game is free absolutely blows me away. Lazarul, the developers of this game, have done such an amazing job of capturing everything it set out to be. At first, I questioned why there were certain features that a player had access to, but the more you play the game, the more you begin to understand why these things are necessary, and you end up feeling grateful for them because they enhance the game so much more. One thing I'm very happy about is that it feels so good realizing how much better you are getting at the game, despite getting your butt handed to you time and time again. Naturally, you start to improve and anticipate behaviors from enemies all around you, and at the end of each fight, after dying, you notice how much lower you got the boss's health. This only drives you to trying again and giving it one more shot 1,000,000 more times. You begin to feel more and more powerful with every run, the controller sits a bit more comfortably in your hands, and the boss's movements appear to get slower. In actuality, it is you whose eyes are getting faster. Being able to plot out a strategy, then finally being able to successfully execute on it makes you feel godlike. Feels so good to win. After trying less than 10 times, I finally succeeded in defeating the first boss. The glory felt spectacular to the feeling one gets after obliterating an Elden Ring boss after what feels like endless attempts. The bosses that follow only continue to get better. There is clear inspiration from retro games like Space Invaders or Galaxin. The devs use clever game design tactics to modernize some really good classics. The crazy thing about Bananner and Nababber is that you might feel like the first boss you fought was insanely hard, but once you've made your way to the next one, you realize that it was a cakewalk in comparison to what you're about to face. There are so many times when you're playing the game regularly and you notice certain things like environmental art that you think nothing of at first glance. Once you start to hone in and mess with the environment, you begin to realize that these are all actually carefully curated environmental features that can affect gameplay and either help or hinder you depending on how you play and which strategies you decide to pursue. It blows my mind to not only see well-curated boss battles, but the developers took the time to think about what else they could do aside from the boss battles and their minions' environmental interactions, which, if you aren't actively looking for it, you may beat the whole game without even realizing they were there. It's always the little things, isn't it? The game is honestly way too good, out of this world. Perhaps developed by aliens? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. My only gripe about the game is that there are many times where you don't realize you've just taken damage, which can lead to being frustrated after dying when you thought your health was still full. This isn't an every time occurrence though. There is usually feedback whenever a player takes damage, like an animation or a special effect on screen, but sometimes these two things don't happen and you only notice if you're either actively checking your health bar or are dead already. I have so much pain in my thumbs, but man, it was so worth it. The awesome thing about this is after beating the game, which took so long, beating the final boss, but it brought upon the most epic conclusion. What's even better is that after returning to the character select screen, I came to find that there were 2 new characters of 6 in total unlocked. Each of these with different weapons, items, and playstyles. So much fun to go around. Post-endgame unlocks a new mode called Struggle Mode, and what this does is allow you to play an even more hardcore version of the game with altered AI patterns and behaviors, giving Bananner Nababber additional flavor. I tried out 1 round of Struggle Mode, and although it was really fun, I really didn't want to put myself through the hell that awaited me, in the best way possible, of course. I was initially going to play the game for just a few minutes, but it just got better and better. I got hooked, and I began to get more and more fascinated as time went on, as behavior was learned and as boss levels progressed. What was once thought to be a simple 3-hour boss rush game turned out to be an in-depth, replayable piece of art. Excellent game, I would highly recommend. What games have you come across recently or throughout your life that has surpassed your expectations? Why is it so hard to find the perfect balance of the things players once loved and new content that players can potentially love? Let me know in the comments.